Computer. Okay. There have been some people who were supposed to take this class for credit, and I haven't got anything from them, and I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, I know what will happen if they don't get the work done. So if you're taking this for credit, you need to get your work done.
I have mine. I just haven't emailed them to you.
I wasn't talking about you, Justin. I know you'll get your work done. That's not a problem. But some of them I haven't got anything from. So anyway, this is class 10. So we have, after this class, we have 3 more classes.
Tell them what you're teaching.
Yeah, I can do that too. I am next quarter teaching Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, and then Nahum, Habakkuk, and Zephaniah. Okay, well, just really a continuation of the minor prophets. So anyway, this is class 10. We have 3 more weeks. Of this. So next week, I will be sending out a little quiz for 2nd John. Should have got one for 1st John. I think I sent to you. If I did not, look and see, and if not, I'll get it to you. I may have overlooked you because I'm thinking you're in class, and I could, but anyway, if not, I'll send it to you. So we got to verse number 5 last week. 2nd John, not but 1 chapter. 3rd John, not but 1 chapter. And Jude, not but 1 chapter. So
We're in 2nd John.
we're in 2nd John, chapter 1, verse 5.
That's what
Okay. All right. Now I beseech thee, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment unto thee, but that which we had from the beginning, that we love one another. Now, who did we say the lady was?
The church.
Yeah. All right. It's the church. All right. So when we look at this beseech thee, here is then a mode of request from an equal to an equal. The Greek makes a distinction between a superior and an inferior, and then across equal lines. And so this is then on equal lines, okay? And not one in it's superior or one inferior, but this is equal to each other. And then he says, though I wrote unto you as not as though I wrote a new commandment, all right, new in kind. And that would be a Greek, in the Greek too, that they would be, you could tell. And some of the nuances of the Greek, but it's new in kind. So he didn't give them a new commandment, new in kind, but that which was from the beginning. Now, the beginning here is from where?
The beginning as in from when you started preaching?
That's right. That's very good. Very good. All right, John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. A new commandment have I given to you, that ye love one another as I have loved you. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Okay? So that is then from the beginning, from that time when Jesus began preaching. And here is then this new commandment that he began. It's a little different from the Old Testament. All right? Because they had love thy neighbor, that's true, but they also had an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. So this is another one. All right, verse 6, he says, and this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it. All right. Now, what verse does this remind you of? Book, chapter, and verse does this remind you of? that you walk after his commandments. All right, John 14:15, what does it say?
You love me, keep my commandments.
That's right. If you love me, keep my commandments. So love then consists of fulfillment of God's will. Now, does that mean we can leave out part of God's will? All right, that's right. We cannot. We've got to do everything that God says.
It's every jot and tittle.
That's right. But every jot and tittle. All right, without love, obedience becomes fanaticism. Duty without love is cold formalism.
Say that again.
Love without obedience becomes fanaticism.
Right.
Duty without love is cold formalism. So we could almost say ritualistic, because if we're just doing it just to be doing it, it's something that we've done. We've got to be careful with our own worship, that it doesn't become cold formalism, ritualistic.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but you've got to understand why. That's like partaking the Lord's Supper. We've got to remember why, and it's so important that we emphasize the why. But it's also emphasized the idea of worship. All of our worship is important. We've got to emphasize that. Love, without love, God's commandments are irksome and hard. We found in 1 John, what was it? 5 and verse 3, that his commandments are not grievous. All right. If we look at some passages in 1 John, remind us of those things. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment, that which you have from the beginning. The old commandment is that the word which ye have heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write unto you, which things is true in him and in you, because the darkness is past and the true light now shineth. He that saith he is in the light and hateth his brother is in darkness even now. He that loveth his brother abideth in light, and there is none occasion of stumbling in him. But he that hateth his brother is in darkness, and walketh in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, because that darkness hath blinded his eyes. Then chapter 3 and verse 23 and 24. This is the commandment, that we should believe on the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as he gave us commandment. And he that keepeth his commandment dwelleth in him, and he in him. And hereby we know that he abideth in us by the Spirit which he hath given unto us. And then we mentioned John 14 and verse 15. John 14 and verse 21 also says pretty close to the same thing. So here's this commandment then. And also he talks about walk. Now, what do we mean by walk?
Living of our day-to-day life.
That's right. Okay. It is a progression also. When you're walking, in Psalm 1, we find an interesting situation there. And it is also progression. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinner, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. So here is a progression. He says, blessed is the man that does not do these things. First of all, he's walking by it. Then he's standing and looking at it. He's gawking at it. If you drive in Atlanta, you understand that idea that there are people be driving and they'll stop the whole 6-lane of traffic just to see what's going on. And then what they need to do is, the last one, that's get out and sit there with them. And I've seen that happen. Okay. So here is that progression then that we need to be a part of, and in that commandment that he has given to us. And we should walk in it. All right, verse 7 says, for many deceivers are entered into the world, who confess not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh. This deceiver, this is a deceiver and an antichrist. So if you want to know who the antichrist is, this verse tells you It is one who does not confess that Jesus Christ came in the flesh. Now, this would be some of the root of Gnosticism. And I know we didn't spend a lot of time on Gnosticism, but they don't deny that Jesus Christ is. What they deny is that he came in the flesh, that he was just a phantom. And so then here is who a false teacher is. Deceiver. Okay, false teachers are deceivers, imposters of the vagabond type. You might want to make sure you get that down. Okay, false teachers are deceivers, imposters of the vagabond type, and hence any kind of corruptor. Imposters of the vagabond type, and hence any kind of corruptor.
These are false teachers.
Yes. All right. So the Antichrist. Now let's go back. 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. Little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now here is the Antichrist, whereby we know that it is the last time. Then drop down to verse 22. Who is a liar, but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ. He is an Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. So here are people then who are denying Jesus. Then they're also denying that he came in the flesh, but also they're denying God the Father.
Because they deny Christ.
That's right. Oh, in chapter 4 and verse 3. Every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And he is the spirit of the Antichrist. Wherefore, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already it is in the world. So chapter 4, verse 3. So we're talking about the Antichrist, not something future. John's saying it is right now, in his century. And that'd be the first century. And we do have it now. Those people are not all gone. So we need to be marking these people and letting folks know, here is then the Antichrist. Not something mysterious. John's telling us exactly who the Antichrist is. Then in verse number 8, he says, look to yourselves that we lose not those things which we have wrought, but that we receive a full reward. Now, what is our reward? Well, okay, heaven, everlasting life, peace on earth, goodwill toward. Oh no.
But I mean, peace.
What about that? What about the crown of life?
Yeah.
All right. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, should give me in that day, and not to me only, but to all them that love his appearing. And then in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. The latter part of the chapter there, he says that they received to corruptible crown, but we an uncorruptible crown. And then Revelation 2:10, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So there is our reward then, and it is an inheritance. 2 Peter chapter 1, I think that's verse 4. It may be 1 Peter. Let me look at that. Let's see. I get my Peter's car on. All right, I think it's 1 Peter. Let's see. To an inheritance. That's 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 4. To an inheritance, incorruptible, undefiled, that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you. Okay, so there's what our reward is then. And he tells us to look to yourselves. Here then, we are to examine yourselves. All right, examine yourselves to see your shortcomings in order not to be deceived. So we need the honest evaluation of ourselves to make sure that we are walking in the light as he is in the light, so that we have fellowship one with another. All right. We now First Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 27. I think that's the last verse in there. He said, "Lest I needed to buffet my body, lest by any means when I preach to others, I myself should be a castaway." Yes, but I keep under my body, bring it under subjection, lest by any means when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. So here is this self-evaluation. 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. Get that passage. 2 Corinthians 13 and verse 5, it says, "Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith." Okay. Prove your own selves. Okay. So there is this idea of an inward look taught other places by other apostles then. And we can receive then a full reward. Okay. Now, verse 9. And there's a lot of contention about this verse. "Whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God, but he that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son." So a lot of this is about, is this the teaching of Christ or the teaching about Christ? And my question to that, yes, that's correct. What's the difference? If it is teaching of Christ, then that's what he taught. And if it's a teaching about Christ, isn't that what he taught? I see no difference in this, but some people make a big distinction between the two, and I don't see it. Yeah. All right. And notice also transgresseth is in the ETH, present active indicative, means a continuous process. Okay. American Standard Version has goeth onward. Here is a sarcastic reference then to the professed higher knowledge of the false teacher. I have more knowledge than you do, so therefore I am superior to you. You can't talk to me because I have a PhD and you only have a bachelor's degree. So therefore we can't discuss these theological things. I have my PhD. It's out in my shop called a post hole digger. I don't let that get in the way, okay? All right. But that's how some people have that attitude, okay? He that abideth not. Now, look at that abide. What do we mean by abide? That's right. That's your dwelling place. John chapter 15. I've made this challenge to you before, but read John chapter 15 and find how many times he says abide. And he uses maybe a derivative of abide. Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same hath bring forth much fruit. Without me ye can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my word abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. So here is some of those things. You can read further on that. And here is the importance then of abiding in Jesus Christ. All right, but notice in our passage that we're talking about, whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ. So this is not where he's studying. He's going onward. He's going past. Okay, he that hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. Here's the fellowship then that we talked about in 1 John chapter 1, and that passage in 1 John chapter 1. All right. So not only is this teaching concerning the person of Christ, but this is also the commandments that he has given. All right. Religious people may be successful if they go, if they go beyond the simple teaching. Religious people may be successful. That's right. Religious people may be, but if they go beyond the simple teaching of the New Testament, they face condemnation. All right? Does that make sense to you? Say yes or no. Does that make sense to you?
Could you say it again?
All right. I had to read how this religious people may be successful, but if they go beyond the simple principle, simple teachings of the New Testament, they face condemnation. Okay? And this goes on to, this talks really about Bible authority. Okay? Jesus said in Matthew chapter 28, verse 18, all authority has been given to me in heaven and earth. When we go, everything we know in our Bible, everything we know about God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit is found in our Bible. And when we're going to talk about religious things, how to be saved, how to worship God, is found only in our Bible. We cannot add to, nor can we take from those simple things. We need to understand that. People are adding to and taking from. Well, I don't like it. It doesn't matter what you like, you know. I know some people don't like chocolate. I don't understand that. I like my chocolate, okay? Now, but we've got to abide in the doctrine of Christ. If they're coming, now watch verse 10. If they're come any unto you and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. So if assumes a fact. And here is a test of fellowship. Okay. They are not to be welcomed in any way. So here comes somebody knocking on your door. What are you going to do?
You need that wash towel.
Okay. All right. Be nice to them, but you may have.
You can talk about Jesus. Then that's all it takes.
Yeah. You may have an opportunity to teach them. Doubtful, but you may have that opportunity. But you don't have to spend a lot of time with them. Okay? And now, got to understand, we've got to spend time with people who are not members of the church in order for the church to grow. But you're not accepting their doctrine. What you're trying to do is teach them the truth, and there is a difference. Okay? This is getting that idea and listening to them and accepting what they're saying. Okay? Receiving not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. So we can't do that. Okay? All right, the suggestion that we are living in times when the apostles' uncompromising attitude is scarcely applicable is to be regarded as utter fallacy. The suggestion that we were living in a time when the apostles' uncompromising attitude is scarcely applicable. In other words, it doesn't apply to today. Is to be regarded as utterly fallacious, F-A-L-L-A-C-I-O-U-S, fallacious, okay, and to be repudiated as danger. And that was written by Vine, from Vine's Expository Dictionary. All right, faithfulness to Christ forbids the least bit of tolerance of both teaching and the teacher. Love of the truth involves hating error.
Could you repeat that?
What, the love of the truth involves hating of error? Or the faithfulness to Christ forbids the least bit of toleration of both the teaching and the teachers. And this is where I would invite you to read somebody like J.D. Tance's biography I don't know if it's an autobiography. It's called The Texas Preacher. And how he handled the false teachers and the false doctrine. Very interesting. Not everybody can do it that way. But he had an interesting way of doing it.
So your second statement is part of love.
Love of the truth involves hatred of error. You can't have both. It's one or the other. For he that biddeth him Godspeed is partaker of his evil deeds. Partakes there is koinonia. K-O-I-N-O-N-E-O.
K-O-I-N-O.
N-E-O.
Okay.
Koinonia.
Which means
Fellowship. Joint participation. If we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship. Okay. Acts 2. Here's where it gets interesting. Acts 2 and verse 42. They continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and in fellowship and the breaking of bread and in prayers. And in that context, when you look at it and you study it, write all those things down. Here's apostles' doctrine. Here's fellowship. Here's breaking of bread. Here's prayer. And then in verse 47, it says praising God. So what is apostles' doctrine? Teaching. All right. What's fellowship? Well, we'll just go by that for a second. Breaking of bread. What's the breaking of bread? Lord's Supper. All right. And then in prayers, that's prayer. Okay. And what's praising God? Singing. Okay. All 5 acts of the worship then are done on the first day of the week. So which one of the 5 acts did we not list? That's right. Giving. So when we look at our giving in light of fellowship, maybe we'll take a different look at our giving. But then when we look at grace, we may have a different attitude towards our giving also.
we are laborers with God. We are his workmanship.
And
Laborers in his
vineyard. That's right. We are.
So if we look at, like you say, that we're working
Together,
together, we're co-workers.
That's right.
with God, doing the we're his laborers.
That's right.
He has no way. This is the way God has chosen
Right.
for us for his word, for people to be saved, is through the preaching of men.
That's right. 1 Corinthians, Jude mentioned 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 9, for we are laborers together with God. We are God's husbandry. We are God's building. So we are laborers together with God. When we're going about doing our personal evangelism, understand it is with God. Now, if we go back to another passage that she referenced, although she may not have mentioned it outright, is Romans chapter 10, beginning with verse 13. And talking about how should they preach except they be sent. But understand, God is with us when we're going and doing God's word. So there is that joint participation then. All right, now notice, for he that abideth him is, or he that biddeth him, man, I can't read. He that biddeth him Godspeed is partaker of his evil deeds. So, do I?
I grew up with that verse.
Yeah, okay. Is partaker of his evil deeds. Deeds is works. Is partaker of his evil works. Okay. So teaching is a work, and it's more than an act. So we've got to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about this verse. And this verses 9, 10, and 11 are part of your memory verses. And it's very important to memorize this passage. All right, verse number 12. having many things to write unto you. I would not write with paper and ink, but I trust to come unto you and speak face to face, that your joy may be full. Now, what's the problem with writing? What's the problem with texting? We do a lot of texting. What's the problem with it?
You can get the wrong context sometimes.
That's right.
You don't get the inflection.
That's right. The inflection. All right. You don't, and you miss the facial expression. You miss the body language. You miss everything. And the tone of the voice, you miss it all. And what you may say might take one way, somebody else might take it another way. So that's why he wanted to meet with him face to face. Okay. But also we find here that he says with paper and ink, this is the only time that we find these paper and ink in our New Testament, or paper anyway. We do find ink, and we'll mention that in just a minute. But we do find this paper is made of papyrus. You know what papyrus is, don't you? It's a plant. Yes. Egypt. Okay. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 3, he mentions ink there. For as much as you are manifest declared to be epistles of Christ ministered by us, written not with ink. Okay, so ink is mentioned. Then also in 3 John 13, many things to write, but not with ink and pen. But this is the only place then that paper is used. Here. So they did have paper and ink and pen, whatever. The children then of the elect sister greet thee. So here is the elect lady. She had a sister, and the sister was not where her children were. But yet they were faithful. Isn't that what you want to know about your children? They are faithful. See, that's what your mom and daddy want to hear about you all, that you are faithful. All right. So hopefully, Lord willing, I'll send you out the little test. I need to send you 1 John test. You hadn't found it yet, huh? You got so many.
I don't think my email's even active. I've been on active all week. So I think you did send it to me. My email's not been popping up.
All right.
So it's my bad.
Okay. All right. Let me know by next week if you can't activate it or whatever, and I will print it out and give you a copy that way. Okay? Just, have you got my email address? Okay, just email me before class, and I'll have it ready. Or do you?
It's not turned on. I didn't realize it wasn't turned on all week.
Okay.
You have to turn it on?
It's usually on all the time.
Okay. Anyway, if you don't get it, let me know and I can print it out for you. Okay. 1 John test and 2 John test. Okay. If we get through with third.
And we couldn't have bought our house. We didn't have email.
Yes, right.
They send everything out on email.
All right. 3 John. I think I gave this out last week. Truth is used 6 times. Yep. 3 John. Truth is used 6 times. Love is used twice. And beloved is used 4 times.
Can you say that last one again?
Beloved is used 4 times. All right. So this is really a continuation of, and really maybe a reiteration of 2 John and 1 John, some things here that are said, maybe just a little bit differently. Okay. The author, of course, is the elder, and we believe that to be John. 2 John then talks about the elder, and we proved then that that was John. Let me give you some similarities between 2 John and 3 John. 5 of them. Number 1, stress is laid on the truth. Number 2, both speak of hospitality. Number 3, both rejoice over others who walk in the truth. Number 4, he expects to visit the recipients. Number 5, he has more to write, but would rather talk to them. Destination of this epistle is to Gaius. That's all we know. Okay. Purpose of the book. Number 1, purpose. A report of the situation. Underneath that, let's go in indentation number 1 underneath that. Gaius gave hospitality to the preachers. Number 2 underneath that. Diotrephes did not want to receive them. Number 3, Diotrephes banded members from the congregation who did receive them. Number 4, Diotrephes was speaking against John. Can you imagine that? Of course, we're looking down several centuries.
People crucified Christ.
Yeah, that's right. Number
He said he spoke down on John.
spoke against John. Number 5, Diotrephes had to assume the position of leader himself. B under that, or number 2, whatever, and under the purpose, you had A, report, or number 1, whatever you're doing your outline. All right, an example to follow. Number 1 underneath that one is Demetrius is a man to follow. verse 12. Number 2 underneath that, he is held in high regard. Date. About the same time as 2 John 85 through 90. And we have no indication of which one was first and which one was second. This is just the way we have them in our Bibles, and that's okay. All right, lessons. Number 1, arrogance is not confined to false teachers. Then we find 3 men represented.
Number 2.
Yes, it is. 3 representatives, types of men. You might want to get these down. Make sure you get these down. Number 1 is Gaius. He's dependable. He's liberal. That doesn't always mean bad, folks. He is hospitable. And he is devoted. Diotrephes, number 2, Diotrephes. He's a church boss. He's dominating. He's boastful. And he's proud. Demetrius, 3rd. He's commended by all. He's humble or humble. He's kind or kindly. And he is worthy. Any questions about the introduction? Any questions about 2 John? After we've already parted on. All right.
You said these 3 men represent what now?
Let me go back.
Okay.
Oh, they're just representatives, types of men.
Oh, okay. Representative.
And if you'll look in the church, you'll find
Oh, yeah.
those 3 types of men in every congregation.
How many died?
Okay? It's just who's in control. All right. Verse 1, chapter 1. Only one chapter, so here it is. Gaius, then, is a common name in the Roman world. There are 3 other mentions of this name in our Bibles, in our New Testament. Acts 19:29, Acts 20 and verse 4, and Romans 16:23. All right, Acts 19 and 29 says, the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companion in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. All right, and then 20 and verse 4, and were accompanied by him into Asia, Sopater, Berea, and of the Thessalonians, Aristarchus, Seduscus, Gaius of Derbe, and Timotheus of Asia, Tychicus, and Trophimus. Man, I have trouble speaking tonight. Trophimus. So there is 3 other. Then that's 2. Romans 16 and verse 23. Gaius, my host of the whole church salutes you. Erastus, the chamberlain of the city, salutes you, and Quartus, a brother. We assumed then that he was a major influence in the congregation. I think so. Notice it says, well beloved. He is esteemed, his esteem for him. So this is what John thought of him. Thought highly of him. And he loved him in the truth, our common bond in the gospel. Only when acceptance of truth is present can there be mutual love. Go back to 2 John 9 through 11. Only when acceptance of truth is present can there be mutual love. And then I referred back to whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. If there come any into you and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into yourself, neither bid him God's speed, for he that biddeth him God's speed is partaker of his deeds. All right, let's start on verse 2. The word beloved is found in this verse. Well beloved in verse 1, 2 talks about beloved. Verse 5 talks about beloved, and verse 11 talks about beloved. And I think this is a very interesting verse in the way that what he's saying in this. He says, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. So was his soul prospering? And he wants then his health to be just like his soul. That's right. That thou mayest prosper, this is to be led along a good road. That is to have a prosperous journey. His prayer is twofold. Prosper financially and be in health, free of diseases. Now, he may be thinking of Gaius' prosperity because of the expense incurred from his hospitality. To have folks over, it cost you money. And he had a lot of hospitality. Paul wanted Christians to be diligent in business, that they may help the case of the needy. Yep, Paul did. Titus 3 and verse 14. I think that's what he's talking about here, to help. He wanted him to be in health and in good prosperity so that he could help others. Ephesians chapter 4. Let him that stole steal no more. I think that's verse 28. But rather labor with working with his hand, that he may give to him that needeth. 3:14. All right, and praying for his health and prosperity, he wanted his good works to continue. Oh, we'll have to stop right there. I'm sorry. Okay. It's today, though.
21st.
So 7 days from now, it'd be 28, right?
That's what they said.
All right. Thank y'all.
Last day of February.
Yep. Stop.